Okay, let's start.
Yeah.
Nina, you always have something you would like to start with. Would you like to start?
Yes, I always have. You know, Osawadika Ajahn. I don't know whether Ajahn is here, but we can start anyway. Um, Often Ajahn asks me, where is Lodewijk? Then my late husband, for those who don't know. And then she repeats that very often. But it is really the same kind of question as, where are you now? That he asks to other people, where are you now? And she once explained that when there is an idea of a place where someone is, or where are you, it's not realizing realities. She often asks a counter question, and then people are disappointed. But it is really to help people to find an answer and think for themselves and not just repeat what she is saying. But when one thinks of a person or a place, one is forgetful that there is only seeing and only hearing, but we can never consider this enough. So it is very useful to hear the same things again and again, because we can just repeat her words, but we don't consider it enough. Ajahn said, one life is not enough. Never go away from this moment. Very good reminder. I find that, as she often explained, that the self comes in. Self is seeing, self is hearing. But really, this is not really known yet. And we have to have patience, because Panya has to develop to understand this. And I think it's helpful if Ajahn would elaborate a little more about a self coming in, a self hearing and thinking. That's all I want to say.
Yes, I think that we shouldn't underestimate any word of the Buddha. Even the word self is there. Self? See, what is it? Begin from just one word to find out the truth of any reality as it is now. See, that's why we learn that how much ignorance is there when there is the idea of I'm sitting here. See, actually, what sit? Can the hardness sit? See, can the eye sit? Can the ear sit? So, but there's still the idea of I am sitting. So where is the I? If there's nothing at all, can there be a world, star, moon, or anything? When nothing arises, but whenever whatever arises, it's something. Ignorance is there, not know the nature of it, the truth of it, whether it can experience or it cannot experience. No understanding of any reality at all when it's there. That's why we need to listen to the teaching of the Buddha and consider each word to understand the truth that actually it leads to the understanding clearly and clearly there is no I at all. Seeing is seeing only. Where is it? See, I am sitting, but the I, when it's sitting, it's not seeing. It's only thinking. So that's why the world is mixed with moments of reality arising and falling away all the time. Unknown. For example, now, even Buddha said that before seeing there is the citta, which is not Pavanka. It is Panchatavara Vachana, but it does not appear. No way to understand it at all because it does not appear. So in life, even Buddha taught about many, many realities from moment to moment. It depends on what appears only can be known as it is. That's why seeing is now sees. And seeing cannot be I or anyone or anything. It's only a reality which performs the function of seeing. It cannot do anything at all. It's only conditioned to see, no matter whether it likes or dislikes or don't want anything at all. Because it's not that nature. That nature is that which is conditioned to arise just to see. Each word should be clearer and clearer to understand that actually it cannot be anything else besides seeing. So, where are you now? Where are you now? Here or nowhere? Because seeing gone, everything gone. Just to know its nature as that which just conditioned to arise and see, arise and hear, that's all. No I at all. So it's wrong to take that which is conditioned to arise and then falls away instantly as I, still there. I see, it's wrong. That's why no I, no one, no person, no thing. Only that which is conditioned to arise and falls away. When there is confidence on the truth, it will bring more and more understanding the other word of the Buddha. Like the word anatta, see, no self, no one, no thing, no control. Because there is no one to control or to make it arise or fall away. It's through each moment, whenever what arises is conditioned to arise and then fall away instantly. That's why it cannot be known, only panya which develops to the degree that it can understand that. At that moment, no thought, no thinking about that. Like seeing, no thinking that I am seeing, but it sees. It sees. The seeing sees, no I. But when there is no understanding of the truth of any reality, it is I see, I hear, I think, I like, I dislike. All I is there, each moment. Wrong understanding with ignorance and other Akusala-Dhamma. Firm confidence on no one at all. Only different realities. What appears as nimitta, if it's not broken up, how can there be the understanding of it is not anything, as we used to take it for something all the time? Even right now, it's time to begin to understand the truth, little by little. No I who try so much to have more understanding of this and that, but just begin to understand that this moment, there cannot be anyone to be found as someone, something. It's much better than thinking about, I study this, I consider that. See, I all the time. That's why we learn about the absolute truth, that actually there are only citta, citasika, and rupa. From moment to moment, to be forgotten completely after death. Like last life, completely gone. And this moment is going to be last life of next life. just arise and to be forgotten. What about yesterday? Do you forget or do you remember? Those are different realities. Again, all are only Dhammas. Different kinds, different characteristics.
That is very helpful that yesterday is forgotten, because I received a question that each chitta that falls away never comes back. And that person said to me, how does Ajahn know that it never comes back?
Panya understands and develops, no other way at all.
So it is only developed Panya that can really understand.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because even hearing the teachings, it's not the moment of realizing the truth naturally, as now, as it is. No one tried to do anything at all. It's wrong to try to have more understanding, but each word should be understood on and on and on and on until it can be conditioned for direct awareness with panya, which has been developed. Until then, to understand the moment when direct awareness arises, being aware directly with understanding that has developed from intellectual understanding. That's why without the intellectual understanding so very skillful, that cannot be conditioned for direct awareness and higher understanding. But little by little, a moment, very little, and then on, a moment, very little, so much in between, which can be akusala, see? We learn about the truth in life of each moment that can be known. From waking up until now and go on. It depends on conditions, how much can be conditioned for understanding. Nothing can arise without conditions, proper conditions. For that body can change at all. Appearing and then disappearing, never to return in samsara. Keep on going by conditions all the time. Whereas Kunina yesterday, it cannot be Kunina this moment. Different realities.
Nothing, nobody.
Mm-hmm.
But I can just repeat it, you know. I can repeat your words, so it doesn't mean I have really considered and really understood. But I know I have to be patient, since Panya has to develop little by little, as you always remind us, little by little.
And you know better than anyone else at all, because you know how much understanding is there for anyone. What about understanding, seeing as seeing right now? See, even how many times we heard the word, seeing is seeing. Seeing cannot be taken for any one of self. But now it does not appear as that which arises and falls away. A characteristic of that reality in which appears by nimitta. Almost exactly the same, never change, until the arising and falling away of the nimitta of a reality appear. Well, because Panya understands the truth of it, that only at moment of seeing there are so many things appear. At moment of hearing it's so dark, darker than at midnight or when we turn off the light, because we know that even turning off the light, something is there. Even it's not as clear as when there's light. Always something and something and something, all in life. Even there can be the understanding of ignorance, no self, no I, but ignorance cannot understand the truth of what appears now. This will lead to more and more detachment from that which is clung for a long, long time as things and people. That's why when there is the understanding, not only from thinking, from hearing, from repeating, from learning, it conditions little by little understanding unknown that it's there. All Sankhara Khanda are there. Each moment performs their function to understand better and better, clearer and clearer, by conditions. Otherwise, it's done by attachment to the idea of self. Very deeply, it lurks all the time, from here to there. That's why we just take it easy to understand without trying so much as a self to know or to understand the reality as not self, which is impossible because it's done by the idea of self. And this understanding let go the idea of self little by little, to know that it's so very difficult, no one at all. That's why there cannot be anyone who can do anything. By conditions all the time, in each life.
So when trying
Is hardness as we know, as only hardness, and that which experience is not self. They are different, see, in thought, but in reality, it depends on conditions. For awareness, direct awareness with panya, which has developed from intellectual understanding to understand that very moment with sati. They are not self. That's why only understanding develops on and on and on. No one can perform the function of understanding because no self, but understands and understands and understands. Different level. That is Satya Parami, Viriya Parami, Khanti Parami, and Atitana Parami, so firm. No change from trying to do something, but direct awareness bring about the moment of now. What is there? Is it, as we have heard, only that which experiences an object?
Live in the fantasy world of concepts and stories about things and people without any understanding at all about seeing now or hearing now or thinking as realities, but just lost in all those stories about someone and something all the time. And when it's said we can never hear enough about seeing now or hearing now, but this isn't a rule. It's not something to do. Otherwise, it's trying again, thinking I should listen more. And the more I listen to seeing and hearing, the more understanding there'll be. But
Yes.
Sila Bhatta Paramasa can come in so quickly, even at those times, trying to listen more or thinking that the more I hear about it, the more understanding there'll be. But the conditions for understanding are so unexpected and unpredictable. Who knows when there's no thinking about realities, but understanding can come in any time at all. So the hearing doesn't just mean how much time one is listening in a Zoom discussion, but the very wise consideration and reflection at any time at all, without any rules, without anyone trying to do anything. Otherwise, it's the clinging again, which Ajahn mentioned, the clinging to self, wanting to hear more, wanting to understand more. And that is such a big hindrance to just developing understanding, trying to stop thinking like that or thinking in another way. But there can be moments of wise reflection amongst the ocean of ignorance, but just the wise reflection that actually there are just these different dhammas arising and falling away, and seeing now that sees what is seen, the visible object. When the visible object has fallen away, it can never be seen again. So that seeing of that visible object, once it's gone, completely gone, never to return, because it's a different visible object now, and now, and now, and now. So the same visible object can never be seen again, and the same sound can never be heard again, and the same tangible object can never be touched again, because once it's gone, it's completely gone, instantly.
And the example of we have arms and legs, I found difficult. But then I heard the Vietnamese discussion, it was brought up again that we have no arms and legs. But we are so used to thinking that way, always thought in that way. So that makes it difficult.
It's exactly the same as where is Lodewijk, or where are you, or where is the arm. We think we see Nina, we think we touch arm.
Yeah.
It's just the fantasy world of concepts and ideas, because what is touched now is harmless, what is seen now is visible object, what is heard is just sound.
Of thinking I'm doing this, or that is my finger, should be assumed to be wrong view, because there can be thinking about these things out of habit, but without the characteristic of, without wrong view being so predominant that its characteristic is there to be experienced. So I guess I'm saying that we shouldn't be particularly concerned that we find ourselves thinking in terms of I and me and you and he and it and that thing and this thing, because that is always going to be the case, even for, say, the Sotapanna doesn't stop thinking about concepts. But the question, I think, that is of interest for us is the wrong view of self. And wrong view is a particular held belief. It has to be a belief that thinks it's right, rather than just the habitual way of thinking about things.
Yes,
I'd like to talk a bit more on that.
We can cling without wrong view, and also with conceit. And I received a question. Someone asked, but what is the difference between wrong view and conceit? It's always difficult to explain. I know I got that question several times.
Well, I think it's possible to talk about the characteristics of
the wrong idea that I see. In reality, at that moment, there can be understanding of its characteristic. So if it's not known when it appears, it can't be known, as you say, just by thinking logically about it. And the same with mana, conceit. So only when it arises, when there is the idea of he and me, or this one being better or worse, or something like this, but only when the reality itself arises and appears can it be known at that moment that it's mana.
I say now we're having Dhamma discussion, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's wrong view at that moment, because that is a valid conventional description of what is of how the realities are conceptualized at the present moment. It doesn't mean if I say we're having Dhamma discussion that I have a belief that there is a lasting essence itself.
Also, Nina, I was just thinking when you brought up that point about people finding it difficult.
Yes, people are always trying to work things out in a logical way, and that is not helpful to
and we say it's difficult, and in fact, it's making it more difficult when we try to work things out.
Yes, yes.
Are you Nina van Gorkum?
Yes.
See, is there any mana?
So again, a person is there, yeah, with a name and clinging to the name.
Reality is very difficult to understand. And if we try so hard to understand a special one or a particular one, it's done by lopa. See, but when it's time to understand, because hearing and considering is enough to understand, it begins to understand little by little. We don't know when we say, I'm Nina van Gorkum. See, no understanding of reality right then. But when we try to find out what are there, different things, even it can be moment of mana. It depends on whether it is mana or titi. But it's just not time to find out and be glad to know, but to understand the nature of any reality as not self. It's only that, just that, not me, not mine, not your leg. Hardness cannot be your leg. See? But to remember so very strongly that I have whatever, it's not there anymore. Just for a moment, different ones all the time, not the same one. Even same characteristic, but not the same one. How short it is. And nothing, always nothing. That's the meaning of anatta. And whatever appears, it's moment of arising and falling away, even it is nimitta. It brings about the understanding of sunyata, completely gone.
So this life is different from past life, but we cling to the idea of accumulation. So we are not this personality anymore when after death, but we still have a kind of holding on to the idea, but there is accumulation, and every understanding that is accumulated now have conditions to arise in a future life.
Could you remember your last life? Who are you? Who were you?
Oh, no.
See, with mana of that person, no more. See, only this life. But it's there, accumulated, to have such character.
When it's attachment and mana, what is the sanya? What do we? How? It's not anatta sanya. So what is it?
Your point, Sukin?
No, because we hear about atta sanya versus anatta sanya, and atta sanya is associated with wrong understanding. But when the sanya that arises with attachment and mana, what do we call that sanya? I mean, what kind? It's not anatta sanya, but so what is it?
When we talk about atta sanya, it means that sanya of something.
And
So
sanya now, like just sanya with loba, but not atta sanya. So sanya can be with loba, which isn't clinging with wrong view. So it's just sanya with loba, but not atta sanya.
and that sanya is also remembering as something, somebody, and but it's not atta sanya.
If it's just like now thinking about the pleasant discussion, but not the wrong idea that really there's someone there, something that is seen, so then it's not atta sanya. So it's just sanya with loba, remembering Nina's name, remembering
About other sanya of which arises with lopa and mana, that would also seem to be the same thing, making it difficult for understanding to.
the sanya with ditthi is the leads to the wrong path. It leads to the wrong understanding of self. So it's different from just common loba. When it's wrong view, it leads away from understanding. It's a hindrance to understanding. The taking whatever arises at that moment for something or someone. It's the opposite of understanding Dhamma as anatta. So it's more dangerous than just common ordinary clinging to what's seen or heard when it's the idea of something or someone there.
So is it the case that when recognizing, oh, that's Nina, that's Alan, that's Betty, those are books behind her, that's what is meant by atasanya, or not?
No, if it's atta, then it must be associated with wrong understanding.
So there's a different characteristic to the moment than the normal one of just recognizing objects and individuals.
Sanya can be kusala or akusala. It can be with wrong view or without wrong view. So at that moment, it's sanya with wrong view that's being referred to.
So instead of talking about sanya, then why not just talk about wrong understanding?
Because it's pointing to how that's the moment the sanya is marking and remembering wrongly. It's the sanya vipalasa that is being referred to, but it has to be with ditthi at that moment. So there can be all kinds of akusala sanya, but this is the sanya vipalasa with ditthi that Sotapanna eradicates. So it's the perversion of sanya. It's the wrong. It's the remembering wrongly the object.
And can we talk about
what is anatta for being atta at that moment? Because what is seen is just visible object, but at that moment there is the wrong remembering, the taking it for being someone.
Can we talk about such sanya being stronger and stronger, hence the problem?
Sorry?
Talk about such sanya, atta sanya becoming stronger as a result of wrong view. Therefore,
the more wrong view, the more atta sanya, because they arise, they develop together. The more wrong view, the greater the perversion.
exactly like you can compare, because samadhi and effort has to do with the baramis also. So sanya is not a barami.
I don't think it matters that those other things happen to be paramita. That's not the point.
I think it's pointing to the role of sanya. Without sanya, no thinking rightly or wrongly at all. So there can be sanya vipalasa, the perversion of sanya with ditthi, or there can be wise reflection, like when we talk about intellectual understanding or Upanisya Gochara, and then there has to be the right remembrance of the object, kusala sanya, otherwise no understanding at all.
Sarah, to clarify, when we have this idea of inside, we're inside a room and the outside is the world of people and places and things, that is wrong view, because there are only just realities and there's no inside and outside of a reality. So there's no inside and outside of sound. So this idea, this deeply rooted idea that we're in a room and we go outside the front door and there's loads of people outside, that is an aspect of wrong view.
Right. Of course we can just...
Right to say that even though we haven't attained enlightenment, we're not Sotapanna. For a lot of the time, we're like a Sotapanna because wrong view doesn't always arise. The Sotapanna is different from us because there's no condition for wrong view to arise. But when we don't have wrong view, it's the same. They see, they hear. Yeah. I mean,
what about an animal goes through life with lots of attachment and ignorance, but no conditions for wrong view to arise? But it's not like a Sotapanna because the tendency is there waiting to arise when the conditions are right, if not in that life, in the next life.
Yes,
so
yeah.
For the Sotapanna, there is right understanding, no doubt at all that what is experienced is just Dhamma, just visible object that's seen, just sound that's heard. Not like when there's just living with ignorance and attachment, but no conditions for wrong view to arise.
Yeah, okay.
Like a small child just playing, you can't say it's like a Sotapanna because no conditions for wrong view to arise.
Yeah.
Because no right understanding.
To clarify about the meaning of enlightenment, which was discussed last week, that enlightenment, it's the moment of the clear understanding of a reality as it is. So we call that enlightenment because it leads to all Four Noble Truths. Is that right? So the clear understanding of reality.
But it is the clear understanding of the truth, including the truth of the unconditioned reality.
So the enlightened person clearly understands the Four Noble Truths, but
Yes.
it's a lot more than that.
Time.
Because it's understanding the truth of life, why we live, why we're born, why we suffer. It's not just confined to the Four Noble Truths in a way. It is a proper term to describe that experience because that person understands the conditions for realities.
I think the point that, I don't remember exactly what was discussed, but I'm sure the point was that if there is not the understanding right now of reality, even a little, then there cannot be the developed understanding of what appears now, and there cannot be the understanding of what appears now well, the moment Satipatthana. And without that direct understanding of what appears now, there can never be the clear understanding of what appears, which leads to the very clear understanding of the Four Noble Truths, the moments of enlightenment. So it has to develop. So
Imply.
Imply.
There has
Yeah,
to
what
be,
happens with Pacheca Buddhas, for example?
yes,
Do they have a clear conceptual understanding of the Four Noble Truths, for instance?
they have to have, in previous times, there has to have been the hearing and considering from previous Buddhas about the Four Noble Truths, and that understanding has to develop as a bodhisattva, beginning with conceptual right understanding, leading to direct understanding, leading to enlightenment. In their case, like for the Samsama Buddha, it's without needing to hear from another in that final life, but there still has to be the same development from the intellectual right understanding through to the direct understanding, the very clear understanding and enlightenment. There can never be any enlightenment for anyone without the very firm intellectual understanding in the beginning.
But aren't we saying with that that there is a possibility to be born already as Sotapanna?
In this realm, I think
Yeah.
there aren't any. I can't think of any examples of anyone born in the human realm as a Sotapanna. Maybe in
Okay.
another realm, perhaps in another realm possible. But Ajahn may add more on this point.
Kusala. For example, when there is the idea, even we don't say it's a glass, but it's something, isn't it? Is there doubt about that? Different from moment of taking it for something there. Until right understanding can understand that object as it's just that object, no doubt about the sound or the hardness or whatever appears as it's not self, it cannot be anything at all. That's why in order to know the rapidity of the succession of processes in a day, no one can tell what moment is accompanied by Titi and not different moment. See, that's why just learn about understanding that which can be understood. For example, now there is seeing, and if we try to understand other thing else, when there can be the moment of understanding seeing as not self. So only that moment which what appears should be the object of understanding of that as it is not self or anything at all. And then we can learn that it's still there. Titi, at the titi, or sound of lightning or thunder or whatever, see? That's why it's gone, so no need to try to find out or to think about that. But what about what is appearing now? When there is understanding more and more of that, it can bring about understanding anything which appears through any doorway. So it's just thinking about that which arises and falls away so very rapidly, unknown. It cannot be the object of understanding. But when there is something as object that should be object of understanding of, it's only that. No one, no thing, no self at all. Because it's not just thinking or speculate the truth, but it's the moment of directly experience with right understanding, depending on what level of understanding is there by conditions. Otherwise, it's wasting time instead of understanding that so that it can understand the other reality later. It can be just moment of doubt and doubt and doubt with no understanding. That's why so many examples that can bring about thinking, what is that like? Can it be known? It cannot be known now, but later when Panya develops, it can understand better and better. For example, something there, usually there is the idea, what is it? But at that, and when there is the idea of what is that, it shows that there is no direct awareness of that object, no understanding of that. Still doubt, and depends on whether there is wrong understanding as something there or not.
And you made some very interesting comments a little while ago in passing about mana, Ajahn, about how ridiculous it is really when whatever arises falls away instantly, like we take the seeing now for something that lasts, and there can be mana about one seeing or hearing or anything at all. But actually the seeing has gone completely. The hearing a moment ago has gone completely. So whatever there is conceit about has long gone. So it makes no sense at all, but one can see how deeply rooted it is, because even when there's no wrong view, still there is that lurking mana, even though no wrong idea that anything stays for a moment, but still mana arises. But we can see how absurd it is really, because the personality a moment ago is completely gone. Not
Or you can speak the word or adamas, they are not they are not I or self at all. Change your word, or you know that even you say that, it's not the understanding at moment when it arises and appears. So with the highly developed panya, it's so firm until it is direct, right understanding with right awareness, firmer than just talk about that. When there is no sati, there cannot be panya, and nothing can condition the direct awareness to arise, only enough intellectual understanding. So now you know why sammasati does not arise and why it arises by conditions. No matter you speak at what level of no self, it depends on the moment. Whether it's enough to condition sammasati with panya or not yet. And the difference of the sammasati at level of the beginning and to the end, what is firmer? See, depending on panya only.
so.
That's why, whether is it firm now, depending on what is there now. No change, but it's not known yet, and it can be known. More and more confidence on the truth that it can be realized. Because many people in the old days, in the Buddha's time, had enlightened this truth. Depending on panya only, not with attachment, wishing, or speculation, but the truth appears as it is to only panya, to panya only. That's why, where are you? Do you have arms and legs? See? When there is still the idea of I have, it because of not firm understanding of reality as not self. But when it's firm enough, you know that there cannot be anything at all, only that which is the object. Is that true? Nothing is there, only that which appears as object. Because whatever arises by conditions falls away very rapidly. Not even just only one can be the object of understanding, only the nimitta. See how fast it is. That's why Buddha used the word all five kinds. And there is craving for panya, wanting to have my panya. That is wrong. So the absolute truth is there is nothing left after it has arisen and fallen away. No one there at all. So we read the Tipitaka, any word of the Buddha, with understanding that actually seeing is seeing, beginning to not take it at moment of seeing as I see, little by little. Because in a day, uncountable seeing, just one seeing in a process, so how many processes in a day? Not known as it is, even just seeing. What about hearing and thinking and thoughts? Different thoughts in a day, not known. That's why ignorance there with attachment. only when there is direct awareness, its reality begins to appear until no self is there at all, no thing in it, because it's gone, sunyata. So one understands what is meant by sunyata. If it's still like now, seeing many moments, an hour, and so on, that cannot be sunyata. But moment of arising and falling away, the nimitta of that, it. No sleep, all right, because it's time for panya. See, thinking like that, not anatta. So the truth of anatta is very slowly begin, little by little. At moment of direct awareness of a reality. Otherwise, it's only idea, intellectual understanding that actually there's no I. In a moment, they can be just an object, and that which experience it, no world of people and things and sun and moon and everything, all gone, lost. Because only one object appears well, it means that nothing is there. And that is the beginning of understanding what's meant by loka, different from lokutara. Each word conform with the truth of reality naturally in a day by conditions.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Deeper and deeper that can be known and understood when it's there or when it's gone. Depends.
Gusala. So it makes the agusala when you're angry with someone or something's not right. That makes that agusala seem very gross.
So it depends on whether sammasati arise or not. Because when there is no sammasati, it's I. Try so hard not to have anger, see. But when it's sammasati, it understands the characteristic of the reality as the self, which is much better. More and more understanding of anything. Not try to control or stop it or wish not having it or having it. Even that is known as lopa, see. So anyone who understands that lopa should be eradicated, but without knowing where is it and when is it, it's there. It's impossible to eradicate it. That's why it has to be known as it is, as the second truth. That's why there must be the 12 rounds, the pariyatti of the Four Noble Truths, and patipatti of the Four Noble Truths, and the pativeda of the Four Noble Truths. To condition asava as soon as whatever is the object of the 6 doorways.
I guess that if it's not understanding, then we can just automatically assume that it is one of those asawas, itasawa or
No matter
kamasawa.
who, no matter where, no matter what, Panya knows what is that. When it's not Panya, even we understand from the teachings of the Buddha, as soon as the object is experienced, 3 moments after that, asava must be there. That's why another word for arahata is khinasava. Kina is the end. No more asava. What else is more precious than the moment of understanding?
No,
It's the root for
Nothing is
panya
more.
to develop.
nothing.
Azita, I was just going to add a word about your comment about the more grosser kinds of agusala that appear, because it may seem that if we talk about awareness as being awareness and understanding of a reality that is appearing in the present moment, then we may think that if something is gross, then it's more appearing than anything else, and that can be the object of awareness. But I think we also read in the text that one of the conditions for awareness and understanding is the reflection on what is being heard. So I think it depends a lot on what one has heard and been considering over the recent period. That can also be a factor in determining what object is taken by awareness if it arises. So it's not necessarily the case that the grosser realities appearing are more likely to be object of awareness than, say, subtle ones. And this is, I think, what Ajahn has also been explaining when she...
Then it's never going to be known. So that's a good point. Thank you.
And we know that conventionally anyone can be aware of grosser kusala, in a sense, in the conventional sense. So the awareness and understanding the Buddha was talking about is something quite different, of course, from conventional idea of being aware that one is in a bad mood or one has a strong dosa or something like that.
Hence, also the danger of thinking that we have awareness, because much of the time it's not awareness. We're just thinking like everyone else that there's anger, there's attachment, but it's not with sati and panya.
Right? Yeah. That's why it's important, as Ajahn often stresses, to understand the characteristic of sati and panya, know those moments from moments without. They have quite a different characteristic to the otherwise conventional idea of being aware of strong agusala.
I guess I get impatient quite quickly. So
Why do we talk
Who
about
knows what kind of jitta it is at that moment? Depends very much. One can't classify it and say it's either kusala or agusala necessarily.
Sawadee krap, Ajahn. Can you continue saying why are we talk? Why do we talk about something? I missed the rest.
repeat that, Alberto? It wasn't quite clear.
I think Ajahn was start saying something, but then she stopped. Maybe she said something about why are we talking about something. I'm just wondering if she can continue finishing what she started to say.
What?
Can you hear me? You can hear me?
Yes, but not very clearly. About what? Talking about what?
I don't know. She just said, just started to talk and then stopped to talk. Maybe there is some audio problems or something. I don't know, maybe there is some we mean Sanya, Panya, and Sati.
Yes, but when we are talking about sanya, anatta sanya, is it anatta sanya already or not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. See, there's still atta sanya. I hear, I think, I understand what's meant by anatta sanya, but still I understand. See, even it's not in word, nobody say it, but it's there. So there are different realities, even we don't speak about any of them. But why do we speak about the truth of each reality? Just to understand anothness? No one there at all begin to listen and careful considering about the truth. So it can be moment of understanding little by little, but it's still I. Until Vipassana Jnana, it is the beginning of anatta sanya, because the object does not appear as it used today as something we think about like cup or hand. See, when it appears as a hand, it does not appear well, because it's not the truth of any reality, just that which is there together, taken for something as a hand. So when any reality appears, it does nothing, no thing in it, no idea about it. Hardness is hardness as usual. But what is the difference? Even it appears now, no panya, no thinking, no understanding of it, just past. Not knowing the anattaness and sunyata of it, which has gone completely. See, it's gone all the time, but not to panya yet, until there is more and more understanding of the truth of it. So it conditioned moment of direct awareness, which means must be with panya. Understand that object as we had heard before, otherwise it cannot be the appearing well. And it cannot be only panya which can experience that as it is, as no one. And thinking about just the word no one, when it does not appear yet, we cannot imagine how that could be. Just being alone in darkness, does that appear well? See, without panya, it does not appear well, because it's still something there. Not know yet what is that. No idea about that yet, but something there. Atta sanya, not light, then when we turn off the light, imagine how deep it is. The truth is there. No doubt about that. And without panya, there is doubt. So whatever happened does not have any meaning at all when there is no panya. But wrong understanding takes it for I have experienced that. See, but no panya, so it's still I. Very deeply I, from life to life. And the truth is Satya Barami, understanding what's right and what's wrong. And there is clinging. Lopa is there, unknown, at moment of clinging to whatever is there. Even it's not known as something, but it's there, clinging to that which appears. Is this true? Without considering, can there be such understanding?
So Sukhin, this was an example that a Ajahn has to be there, but it's the firmer and firmer perception of dhammas as anatta with right understanding. So that sanya and the samadhi have to accumulate together until she was referring to the higher vipassana jnana, when there's the direct understanding of the rising and falling away of realities. So the anatta sanya that accumulates with the right understanding is very important. And this is exactly the opposite of when it's atta sanya, like now, remembering of something or someone all the time with wrong understanding. So when there is a referring to anatta sanya, then it means with right understanding.
And I'll be talking and wondering about Sanya, either way being Pakatupanisya Pacha for understanding, Anatta Sanya being Pakatupanisya Pacha for more understanding to arise.
Like we know that Tira Sanya is conditioned for sati, for right awareness of realities. So that firm remembrance of what is right, what is the right object for the Upanisya Gotra. So it depends on there being the right Ruhani Bandha Gotra. We were talking more about it in the session. So it has to be the object, so that there's more and more familiarity with the object of right understanding, that it is just sound that's heard, it is just visible object that's seen. So there's more and more getting used to the right object. That's why we have these discussions. There's no other point, to become more and more used to the object for right understanding to know, so that it becomes a protection from the wrong understanding, from the atasanya, taking those realities for something or someone.
Yeah, that is the meaning of there is not something in it that you don't think is the table I see.
So it depends on the anatasanya, which leads to the right understanding of those realities as anatta. Without the anatasanya, then through the accumulation of the right understanding and the right remembrance of the right object, there couldn't be the direct understanding of realities as anatta.
And then Ajahn mentioned sunyata, and that she was stressing when it is the rising and falling away.
Right. She was saying that that is when the sunyata of realities appears. Yeah. Yes. When it's, because if there's no direct understanding, no.
Not understanding, like in darkness, there's no thought about what is there because it's so dark. Thinking about you are in a dark room, quite very dark. What are there, do you know? So it's just like now. The truth of what appears is the unknown, so dark. No light to penetrate the truth. It's like turn on the light, but no way, because no understanding. That is the just the comparison, not the way it is exactly, yes, but we can understand little by little that how dark it is. even it's light in this room, see? But when we turn off the light, darkness appear, right? As object, because it's not light, but that it's seeing. Otherwise, how can you say that it's dark? Right? But it depends on understanding. When even it's light or dark, no understanding. It's so dark that cannot be understanding of what it is then. Another aspect of what is meant by dark and what is darker. There is no understanding. Even many things appear in light when it's light. See, but no understanding. So of what?
Understanding of the nature of the
What
realities.
nature is there? It must be an object of understanding, not just understanding.
Right, that's what I mean. An object of
So
understanding is understanding a reality that has arisen.
is there any reality in darkness?
Any reality in what?
In darkness. Darkness. Is there any reality
Darkness.
when you are alone in no light, dark?
Well, there could be hearing. There could be hearing the sound of something, which would have nothing to do with the darkness.
But
To me, darkness would only occur if there's no seeing, or you turn, or like you use the idea of turning off the light, but that doesn't mean if the reality's not there. It just means that if there's darkness, it's not being perceived.
so there are many things there as well, because there must be the reality which experiences darkness, right?
Okay. So what reality besides seeing would experience?
There must be the reality which experiences. Even the object is not known, darkness or smell or even taste or thinking, see, different object. That kind of darkness is not when Panya is there. In darkness, it can understand reality only one, because sound in darkness can appear well, not as when it appears when there's light. See, light and sound, so they do not appear well. But when just in darkness, one reality appears like sound, but without panya, it does not appear well as it is. Imagine when panya is highly developed, nobody can change any reality at all.
So can we say that when Panya is...
When there's no light,
there's no
and
dark.
panya is there, see, it's darker than any moment, because it's so clear that when there's no light, see,
So there's no darkness.
there is darkness which is known as it's there. Something in darkness. So darkness, when ourselves until higher understanding, higher vipassana, can experience deeper. Even it's now arising and falling away, it's not known to ignorance and very weak panya. But when it's as highly developed, it can understand deeper and clearer to the truth of nothing, no one. And this is so true, but it's not known when it's not vipassana jnana. So vipassana jnana is the understanding of the degree that it can penetrate the truth which is hidden very tightly, more tight from moment to moment in samsara. So the meaning of appear is different levels. When there is no direct awareness yet, nothing appear well. But when there is direct awareness, it means only one reality as object. Better than when it does not appear well, but not enough until Panya develop higher and higher, stronger and stronger. And there are still other reality because the sati patthana is not long as we see things around so long all the time. Short moment appear better and better. In order to understand the anothernness, no one there until sunyata, nothing is there. Otherwise, there must be clinging to whatever appears.
Betty,
ये भी अलग से डाल दीजिए और इसके लिए मैं
wouldn't
आपको एक
the
अलग
test
पॉलिथीन
for
दे
Pandya
देती
be the arising of Pandya to know what appears now?
Yes, obviously, when Panya is arising, that would have to know that. For instance, are you talking about my question about ubeka, or what you're talking about?
Yes, I'm talking about that because ubeka is another reality. So wouldn't the Panya arise to know the ubeka as just another reality?
That would arise later. Yes. That's true. Ubeka would arise later.
I'm not saying that. It's always Panya. That it's the function of Panya to understand, and it's only Panya knows. Like as Ajahn often says, is there a moment of sati? One knows difference between a moment of sati when there's sati and when there's no sati. So only Panya knows if it's there or not.
Yeah. But okay, all right. Thanks for the clarification. Okay.
Quite a release, just a little away from lopa.
Yes, but Ajahn, it's a little, but because the understanding is so weak, it's followed by attachment and, as usual, a lot of akusla.
Anyway, better to know the truth. The absolute truth. The path leading to enlightenment, the truth, must be Panya with other conditions.
I think that even when it's just a little understanding, it's actually a big relief, because just even moments of just have a few minutes left. Maeve, do you want to say anything or add any question or anything? We can't hear you, Maeve.
Sorry. You know how long-winded my questions usually are, so I think I might save it until Monday. I think I've got the times sorted out for the Monday discussion, and I'll catch up then. And try and keep it as brief as possible.
That's better. We can start off on Monday and then you have the whole time.
Yeah.
It's good to be here anyway.
I had a very good reminder from Alberto. I was thinking of the very deep Dhamma. Is that not too difficult for a beginner? And he said, it is difficult, but important to start with the right reminder. Even a little of right intellectual understanding is very valuable. I found that very good, not to be afraid of deep Dhamma to the very beginner.
Even if it's rejected or someone doesn't appreciate it, one never knows when that seed, the right seed of the right words, can begin to bring fruit later. We will finish now, Ajahn, and thank you very much.
ค่ะสวัสดีค่ะทุกคนค่ะ
Yeah.
ดีค่ะ
Anumodana. Thank you for everyone.
Bye to everyone. So nice to be here every week.